today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about the difference between a transactional marriage and a synergistic one. There is no other marriage like yours. There's something perfect and whole that your marriage is bringing into this world. Transactional mindset comes from emotions like hurt, sad, fear, and it gets expressed in the form of anger. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I'm your host, Rich Heller, and today we're talking about marital synergy, how two become stronger than one, or as it says in my old wedding ring, two hearts is one. Now, I'm going to break from format here a little, and let me tell you a little about the show. The way this works is we work on one topic for a number of weeks and just explore it, really go into each corner of the topic. And the topic here has been how to move from a marriage where you feel like you're cohabitating to one where you feel like you're living in a loving partnership, not just a partnership, but a loving, supportive partnership. And the way that we do this is I sit down with my editor and we create notes for each episode, and the notes are up in front of me. And I want to read you what the opening statement is of this because it's kind of funny. It says, many men feel like they are constantly pushing forward alone in their marriage, like they are the only one carrying the weight of responsibility. That is not true for most men. Honestly, I feel like not just men, but men and women, when we get into marriage, we don't really know what the deal is, right? We have this desire to be with another person. It's grounded into us, almost instinctual. In my case, I was super excited about having kids and having my own family because honestly, the family of origin, wasn't as great as it could be. And I wanted to create one that was better. And I failed dismally at that. And we'll talk more about that later. But I did not feel like I was constantly pushing forward alone in the marriage. In the beginning, I felt like we were just making it up as we went along. And I think many people have this experience. I think the reason why we slip into parallel lives is we don't have an idea of what moving forward in the marriage means. We think that moving forward in the marriage means paying the bills and getting the kids into good schools and having a good time with our wife or with our husband, depending on who you are listening. But it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. And nobody gave us the playbook, right? The whole idea of this podcast is I'm giving you the playbook. So listen closely. I'm giving you the playbook I never had, and millions of men and women have never been given. In this episode, we're going to break down how couples can shift from living parallel lives to operating as a powerful unit. Now, I've never been in the military, but my understanding of a unit is people who share the same mission, they operate within the same frame, is what we've been talking about, or the same culture, or the same rules of life, whatever you want to call it. So they have a vision, they share the same disciplines, right? People in a unit share the same disciplines. They have their individual interests. Some of them like to go out dancing. Some of them like to write. Some of them like to drink. Some of them, whatever, but they share in the mission, the hierarchy, and the rules of life of that unit, all right? So we want to move from parallel lives, which was created by our not really knowing how to play, into being a unit. That's what this has been all about. I feel like I could do a whole nother podcast series on how to create a unit. And we've kind of been doing that, but I don't know if I've given you the rules of life, but you almost got to create those yourself, honestly. You want to become a powerful, independent unit. Independent from what? You want to be independent from the idealizations that your parents taught you or that the people around you are putting on you, or the pressures that your work are putting on you, the ideas of what that unit should be doing. All right. Your unit needs to have a mission, and it needs to meet the world with that mission. And the mission is not just raise the kids and launch them. It's so much more. Units share in values. They may not have them in the same order, but they share in values. Units operate from the same principles. Units trust one another to have their backs. That's what I'm talking about here. That is where synergy is created. A unit, a team, a partnership, a pair of people who share the same frame, rules of life, disciplines, vision, and trust each other and feel safe with one another, have mad synergy. They can create more than each individual on their own. In fact, I would argue that when they share in the same core connection to the greater good outside them, whatever that means, they are empowered in a way that they can't be as individuals. They discover their inner divinity, I'm going to call it, or what's sacred inside of them, and they share in what's sacred in that marriage, the purpose of that marriage and their personal purpose. And I know as I say this, you're listening to this going, what the hell does he mean by purpose? What does he mean by, do people really have a purpose? I'm not sure I have a purpose. I want to have a purpose. I'm not sure I have a purpose. I always thought the purpose of my marriage was that we could enjoy each other and have kids. Well, no, I'm telling you, your marriage has a greater purpose because as a unit, let me back it up. As individuals, you have unique, innate skills and abilities and talents. You're snowflakes. You may look like everyone else, but you're unique, different, and special. And you have a unique purpose as a result. The combination of your skills, talents, and abilities, and your cultural influences, and your history and the way you grew up, all of that has made you into this perfect key that can unlock a door. And only you can unlock that door, whatever it is. Your marriage is the same way. There is no other marriage like yours. There's something perfect and whole that your marriage is bringing into this world, this incredibly dangerous and corrupt world. There's a safety that your marriage is creating based on the principles that you believe in and the values you believe in that shine in this incredibly corrupt world. And if you're not feeling this, but you want to, you really need to listen closely. Your marriage is the single greatest asset in your life. You made a commitment, whatever your words were, you made the biggest commitment of your life when you got married. You made it in a courthouse maybe, or you made it in front of other people with witnesses. You either made it with the blessing of a judge, or you made it with the blessing of a pastor, or the blessing of your family, and you, in front of those people, made the biggest commitment of your life. And when you guys made that commitment, you both changed, and it messed up the whole relationship, right? Because when people change, it messes up the relationship. And this is the oddity of being in this unit, is part of the purpose of the unit is to empower you both individually to become your best selves, your best, most productive, most purposeful selves. But as you become your best, most productive, most perfect self, the relationship itself changes. Every time we make a big commitment, we change the nature of the relationship because we change. The purpose of the relationship is to help us change. And as we change the relationship. We're constantly upsetting the unit. Sounds impossible, but it isn't. And the trick is to be in alignment on the prize for you each as individuals. Where are you both going as individuals? And get that every step of the way, the relationship is going to transform and change. And to not be afraid of that. Because when we get to places in our relationships, we get to places in our marriage where it's really good. We don't want it to change. We're like, oh my God, this feels so good. It's like you go to the Bahamas or you go to Bermuda or you go to Aruba or Spain, wherever your happy place is. And you're there for a couple of weeks. If you're really lucky, you're there for 4 weeks. If you're European, you're taking a 4-week vacation. We need to figure that one out, folks, here in America. You're taking a couple of weeks or 4 weeks or a week or whatever it is. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want it to always be like this. Except that if it were always like that, you would not grow. If it were always like that, you would not be challenged. If it were always like that, you would just get larger and less strong and less resilient. And life is not just about the pleasures, it's about the challenges. We need to take pleasure in the challenges in our marriage, right? We think that our marriage is supposed to be a vacation place, a resting place, and we do rest in our marriage, don't get me wrong. But the marriage is also meant to challenge us. Our partner is meant to challenge us when we are in our individual lives and we are fulfilling our purpose and we're developing our innate abilities, and we get to a place where we question, can we do it? Is this really what I want? Is this really good for me? Who might we turn to? When we have a synergistic partnership, we might turn to our partner and say, hey, honey, babe, sweetheart, buddy, my man, my woman, whatever you call your partner, I'm in a tough place. They're challenging me at work. I'm not sure I can do it. They're asking me to start an office in another city. And I don't know how to do that and balance out the threads of our lives. And if your partner is synergistic, your partner will say, is this really what you want? Is it really going to be good for you? If it's really going to be good for you, we will take it on the chin for you. We will move with you to the other city, or we will stay here while you go to the other city, and we'll figure out how to keep this marriage going while you're in the other city without distracting ourselves with other interests. I read about a couple where the wife has gone back to school and the husband's in London, the wife's in school in the States somewhere. And in order to keep the marriage going, he's immersed himself in pornography and she's fallen in love with her AI. She trained chat to be her lover. So basically, she's in love, being in love with AI, just so you know, in case you haven't got experience with AI, the AI wraps itself around your personality and it becomes a reflection of what you most want to hear. It won't challenge you hardly ever. And if you're immersed in pornography, you're in a complete fantasy land, again, creating a world of fantasy that revolves around you. You say, well, how could that be bad? Well, it's a form of, in my opinion, escaping into pornography or having a relationship with an AI or being a shopaholic is a form of narcissistic pleasure that takes us away from the marriage. It's a breach of trust, in fact. This is just from the people that I've worked with who've come to me with this as a problem, it's a breach of trust. So instead of doing that, your partner says, let's figure out a way we can live apart and the kids and I will come see you every weekend, or you can come see us every weekend, or, we'll find a place to live in between. We'll figure out a way to do this until you have accomplished what it is you set out to accomplish, and then we'll renegotiate. Right? That's what synergy is about. Synergy is the willingness to sacrifice or work through things so that your partner can grow. And I'm not talking about your partner can grow their money, though it might be part of it. Money's good. Making more money is fine. I'm all about making more money. My family needs it, right? That's why part of why we operate in our work is to support our families. I'm all about supporting my family. But when it becomes, honey, I have an opportunity to make more money, but I'm not going to be challenged personally. It's not on purpose for me. That's not that different than immersing yourself in pornography or having a relationship with an AI or becoming a spendaholic or an alcoholic or whatever. It's a form of escape, or it's a form of fulfilling your idealized self. Idealized self, it's almost a misnomer. The idealized self is the self that other people think you should be ideally. Maybe your dad thinks ideally you should have made billions. Or maybe your mom thinks ideally you should sacrifice yourself for your partner all the time and for the kids to never have fulfillment. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here. We want to be our real selves. Our real selves are developing who we are so that we function more effectively in the world and make that difference that we're uniquely suited for, whatever it may be. We may be discovering what it is. That's what a synergistic partnership supports. But to have a synergistic partnership, you got to build yourself up, right? First, you got to charge your own battery so that you can show up 100% for your partner. To have a synergistic partnership, you have to identify and adhere to the frame of the marital commitment, which is that I will only be here for you, unless you're not monogamistic. I'm talking to a monogamistic audience. If you're not monogamistic, this just, you shouldn't even be here, because this is my people are into monogamy. It's a whole nother world. I'm not judging you if you're not into monogamy. If you have an understanding that you're going to have multiple partners, I don't think it's possible to have the kind of synergy that I'm talking about. Though I have a very dear friend who had a relationship like that and claims to have had it, and I don't question that. Maybe I'm just saying, for me and most of the people that I work with, that doesn't seem to be true. So in a monogamistic relationship, in that frame, right, you take care of yourself first. You feed the relationship and your partner second, right? That's the ORP sequence. And you take care of yourself first because your battery needs to be charged to show up for your partner. Your psychic battery needs to be charged. Your patience, tolerance, kindness, and love are not going to be present if you're not well rested and well cared for. And let's face it, if your partner comes to you and says, I have an opportunity in another city that's going to grow me and fulfill me and give us more money for our family, but it means being present less, your battery best be 100% charged to deal with that one. Because the first thing you're going to say is, how can you do this to us? Right? That's our natural reaction to that, our worldly reaction, if you will have it, or really our selfish reaction. Might be our idealized self, I don't know. And our second reaction is going to be, I love you, and exercising my love muscle is all about supporting you in your growth. And let's figure out how we can make this work, because it's not going to be forever. You got to have some clarity on your individual sense of purpose. You need to have goals and growth goals in your individual purpose, each of you. And that's going to create the relationship marital goals. You have goals for your children and goals for the kind of home you want to live in, and the kind of friends you want to have, and the kind of time off you want to have. But the goals of the relationship as they support you as individuals, and the goals for you as individuals as you support the relationship, come out of your individual needs. Sacrifice is not about giving up yourself and everything that you want for your relationship. Sacrifice is about knowing that if part of your purpose is to support the relationship and your partner, and so you will put one goal or priority on the shelf for a little while to help the relationship grow and your partner grow, and you don't do it expecting the same in return, but it's understood as part of the marital contract that if you have a need that interrupts your partner's rhythm, we'll call it, if that need is super great, that your partner will work with you on that, even though it slows them down on their path. It's not transactional. Transactional would be, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. It is transactional in the sense that you're saying, I will sacrifice for you, and I know you will sacrifice for me. But it isn't a contract like, well, I did this for you, so now you gotta do this for me. It doesn't work like that. Transactional thinking in a marriage is death. How do I know that? The best fights that have come into my office, my virtual office, most people work with me virtually, have gone like this. Well, you think it's bad that I spent money on that car? Well, what about when you spent money on that Dior dress? Or another fight, right? That's a transactional mindset. Or another thing might be, oh, you think it's bad that I take so much time for work? How could I produce the money that you needed for that car if I didn't take the time from work? It didn't take the time for work. I'm sacrificing for you. Why can't you sacrifice for me? That is a transactional mindset. A transactional mindset comes from emotions like hurt, sad, fear, and it gets expressed in the form of anger. But synergy comes out of patience, kindness, tolerance, love, shared vision, growth, the joy of working through troubles together because you know it's going to take you to a better place. Now, I want to be really clear. It is good, okay, even desirable to have those feelings of hurt, sadness, fear, and even anger. We just can't allow them to drive us. We connect to our partner through those emotions. By allowing ourselves to have them, we connect to our partner. But get that they're based in being a victim. And when we come from from victimization, we become transactional. Or when we come from the fear of being a victim, we become transactional. It might be awesome to be transactional in your work. Maybe you negotiate all the time. That's all about being transactional. But in your marriage, it will not work. The reason why so many marriage therapists and couples counselors fail is they operate on the transactional plane. They help people to compromise transactionally without focusing on values and purpose and principles. And when we violate a value or principle or our sense of purpose to make a transactional agreement, we violate ourselves and the marriage becomes weaker as a result of it. We may end the fight for the short term, but in the long term, we take away from the marriage. And that's why they have a 50% success rate. But we at Rich in Relationship have a 90% success rate because we focus on the shared values, principles, and purpose of the individuals in the marriage. So not only does the marriage work, but the individuals are satisfied and fulfilled. Sorry, couldn't resist, but that is how it works. All right. So the deal is, the pitch is, here it comes, interdependence. Interdependence. You don't need each other to grow. You are not the perfect piece that the other person has to have to grow. But you are the perfect piece that can help them grow if they want it, and vice versa. All right, I want you to get, it's not that they complete you, it's that they can help you to complete yourself, because your partner in a synergistic relationship brings all the strengths you wish you had. Your partner triggers all the weaknesses you wish you would let go of. And the reason why you trigger each other's weaknesses is to bring them to the surface and heal those bitches. Those weaknesses, those defects of character, whatever you want to call them, we got them all from our parents and they got them from their parents. And it goes back to the primordial oozer, Adam and Eve, whatever story you believe is the start of mankind, it doesn't matter. We started out broken and we pass that brokenness on from generation to generation, and we pick our partners to help us heal the brokenness and get in touch with something bigger and more important than our own individual needs. That encompasses our individual needs, though. It doesn't set them aside, it grows them. If you want that synergy, if you're missing that synergy, actually, I know you've tasted that synergy, right? You couldn't have gotten married if you didn't taste it, if you didn't see it. I am not talking to you about some strange and elusive thing. I'm talking to you about something I know you yearn for. And if you yearn for it, reach out to Rich in Relationship. Go to richinrelationship.com. Check out the resources there. They're all designed to help you with your sense of purpose as an individual, your sense of purpose as a couple, and building synergy that's based on caring communication, safety, trust, vulnerability, and intimacy. I could go on about this. I'm so passionate about this topic. I could go on about this for hours, but I promised my video editor that I was going to keep these things under a half an hour. So I'm going to tell you that we have one more piece in the series, and it's the roadmap for long-term success. It's how I'm going to give you piece by piece. And I've kind of intimated the pieces here in this episode, but we're going to go through it piece by piece, not just theory, but application. It's the roadmap for long-term success. So in the meantime, I want you to have an amazing, amazing day and an awesome tomorrow. And thank you for being a part of Rich in Relationship.